So what I think I like most about Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, is the slow motion shots of our heroes and the villagers on Velt, the moon of Velt, harvesting wheat by hand in slow motion. The first 35 minutes or so of this film it deals briefly with Admiral Noble coming back from his convalescence on his dreadnought and ordering that they go back to Velt because the Scargiver is there. And brief note here, but the first movie, Rebel Moon Part 1, is called The Child of Fire, which I assume is a reference to Korra, the main character. And then the second is called The Scargiver, which is also basically Korra. I'm not exactly sure. I still haven't really quite figured out after watching this movie, and maybe I just missed something. I'm not sure why they call her the Scargiver. Something that wasn't mentioned. I don't remember it being mentioned in the first one. We learned that she was betrayed by Regent Belisarius, or whatever the frick his name is, her adoptive father, who sort of set her up to be the scapegoat for the assassination of the king and the queen and the princess. All kings, by the way, in this series have big white bushy beards, just like right out of Princess Bride or something. I don't know why he set her up like that. He could have just set up somebody else completely, but I guess it makes for a story. Not a good one, but a story. I don't recall her giving anyone any scars during the scene where she is set up and kills the princess, though we learn later that she doesn't kill the princess. The princess isn't dead or whatever. She's a magic princess. I don't recall her giving anyone any scars, so I'm not really sure where the nickname Scargiver comes from. My point is, the majority of the first part of this second part of Rebel Moon is devoted to slow motion shots of grain harvesting. There's a lot of that. There's an abundance of slow motion. I think Zack Snyder has gone off the slow-mo deep end in this film, although I guess he always has. I disliked this film more than Rebel Moon Part 1. I think Rebel Moon Part 1 got away with having some unique scenes in it that were entertaining in their own sort of unique little bubbles, like the cantina scene and the griffin riding scene. They were distinct from one another. This one is like, heroes show up, apparently thinking they've defeated the bad guys because they thought that Admiral Noble was dead and that I guess the Mother World would never send anybody else to get the grain. Realizing quickly that no, he's not dead and they're coming. So then they rally the villagers, harvest all the grain, and then still have time to train the villagers to be better soldiers than the soldiers of the Imperium, or whatever it's called. In the final showdown, we see it's a giant dreadnought that could just obliterate them all in one shot, with dozens of dropships and other aerial craft, and hundreds of soldiers go up against Korra, Gunnar, we'll call him Dario 2, or Dario Naharis 2, because Admiral Noble is the other Dario Naharis. I keep on saying his name wrong, but anyways, from Game of Thrones, the two Darios. And spoiler, they kill each other in this film. But they train all these, they harvest all this grain in like 3 days with their hands and like scythes and shit, because apparently in the future there's no farm equipment and people just live in space harvesting with these tools, these ancient tools. I don't know why. I don't know. But they harvest all this, and we get a lot of slow motion shots of, like all these heroes that Korra has brought with her, whose names I can't remember. Forgettable characters, other than just they run around in slow motion showing off their muscles. And their six packs, and they yell when they win, and anyways. So they harvest all the grain, and then they train the villagers, and all the villagers are crack shots right away. And they organize the defense, and all these bad guys come. And because this is ripping off Star Wars, as well as, Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven and all that, immediately are better fighters than all of the stormtroopers or whatever that the Imperial Army sends. And they win. Long story short, they win. Overwhelming odds, like wildly overwhelming odds. You would think that a dreadnought filled with all this like gun, all these guns and heavy armor and all the rest against a little village of people who've never fought in a battle before would be extremely difficult and challenging. But what what's the Ryan George line? No, it's no trouble at all. Barely an inconvenience. Although maybe in this case, barely an inconvenience. Sorry, dad jokes. I can't help it. I am a father. Luke, I am your father. I tell dad jokes. I apologize for that one. There's just like, okay, there's one redeeming thing about this movie, and that is Jimmy, the robot, played by Anthony Hopkins, who, every time Anthony Hopkins says words, I'm just like, this is a good movie. I like this movie. And then also Jimmy has an awesome scene where he like destroys a whole bunch of the bad guy stuff and shows off what a truly like phenomenally badass robot he is. And I'm like, you could have just gone with Jimmy, I think. He probably could have done this by himself. Instead of getting a whole four other heroes to come help you. One of whom dies. Gunnar, okay, one of the heroes that Korra and Gunnar got dies, and then Gunnar dies. Because, of course he dies, because him and Korra were in love. I felt nothing. I felt nothing during this whole movie. You don't get to know the characters, really. The only way you get to know them is that they each have their exposition dump. Like, they literally, there's a scene where they sit around a table, and they tell their tragic backstories to each other. And we get to see the flashback as they talk over it. Korra gets hers earlier with just Gunnar, but the rest of them do it together at the table. And I was like, why didn't they just put Korra's with the rest of them at the table? But I guess it's because she's keeping it a secret. And then later, at the very end of the movie, she's like, I've been lying to you. I have a deep, dark secret. I actually killed a princess. And the general guy, Titus, I remembered his name. It's such a unique name that I've never heard before. He's like, I know, child. I've known all along, but the princess isn't dead. And we get a setup for the sequel of the sequel, the third movie, where they're going to go find the princess, and it's actually just one great big rip-off of Super Mario Brothers. Oh, I don't know, guys. Anyone who's following the channel knows I was on a bit of a hiatus for a couple weeks there, and I haven't made any. I've made a couple of videos, but I haven't liked them, so I haven't posted them, which generally is a sign that I've been in some kind of funk or another, depressive, bipolar down phase or something where I can't talk into a camera. But so this is a fun one to come back with, because it was just dreadful. And I was actually kind of soft on the first movie. I was like, I had low expectations. I was sort of entertained by some of it. This one was just like, wow, I'm literally about to fall asleep watching them harvest wheat in space in this weird Viking village where they have like scythes, and later they're shooting like muskets and shit. Like, what is the cohesive creative vision of this film? It's just like this grab bag of other movies and other stories, just put it like glued in pieces, like in some scrapbook that a fourth grader's made. And I don't understand, like the scene where the king and queen are assassinated, man. Like the costumes on the king and queen and princess, it's just like, what? What were you thinking here? I mean, you go watch Dune Part 2 and see the costume design in that. And the visual design and the use of camera work and lighting and all of that. And then you look at this and it just feels so cheap. I mean, there were a couple cool bits, like when she goes all Obi-Wan in the Dreadnought and plants all the little explosives on the thing. It's like this weird face. I don't know what that's all about, but it's kind of cool. I guess it's kind of like it's like the AI at the heart of the ship with all the nerves going out. And I guess that's sort of like borrowing from like Ian Banks, with his culture novels, their sci-fi novels, where like AI kind of controls this whole civilization, this sort of utopian civilization. And Anyways, that's a whole other thing. You should read Consider Phoebus if you get a chance. And then there's a bunch of other books in that series after that one that are a lot of really good books. But what else is there to say? I mean, like, it looks like almost none of the villagers died. Only one of the heroes died, and then Gunnar died. Meanwhile, like, every one of the bad guys was destroyed. And then at the end, like, the rebel fleet shows up, and they're like, we're here. You already did it all, but we're here now that the fighting has stopped. And now they're off to save the princess, who has magic, which will probably be some version of, like, I don't know, the Force meets, like, Frozen or some shit. I don't know. It's like, she looks like a Disney princess. She actually looks like Princess Peach a little bit, in the pink dress with the little golden crown. Like, who designed this shit? And then you've got Jimmy, who's a really cool design. I like Jimmy, the robot, with his antlers and shit. That's cool. His, like, tattered cape. And, like, give me a movie about Jimmy. You'd have to pay Anthony Hopkins a lot more to have, like, a lot of lines. I think he's just like, wow, this is a really easy paycheck. I got to record, like, 8 lines, maybe, and, like, a little narration at the beginning. And I get this fat paycheck, and I don't even have to be on screen. I don't even have to go anywhere. I can do this on my phone, you know, like... But it was funny that the two Dario Naharises from Game of Thrones ended up really being the ones to kill each other, basically. That was cute. That's fun. That's a fun Game of Thrones deep cut there. Cora herself, I liked her better before she cut her hair to that ridiculous haircut that's like Jadis from The Walking Dead. That also Admiral Noble had. Admiral Noble, what a name. He's so noble, what a jawline he has. Yeah, I don't know. I'm giving this one a big fat thumbs down. I mean, watch it. Watch it so that you can marvel at how spectacularly stupid it is. Watch it to play drinking games with your friends. Watch it if you really like slow motion and derivative, tedious, generic, poorly written films, because there just really isn't anything that I can recommend about this other than Jimmy. Team Jimmy. Here we go. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I've been trying to make more videos than I've been making lately. Sometimes I just hit a wall, and I don't know. I just can't get past that wall, but I'm really, really trying. So thank you for your continued support. I really appreciate everyone. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the film, and I'll catch you next time.